they do have the ability to take responsibility for how they take care of themselves. And there's a certain point with our children, and it's not when they're just adults. There's a certain point that even in high school, if not a little bit earlier, that we do have to let them take responsibility for their decisions. Hi, it's Dr. Phyllis. Welcome to the Resilient Woman podcast. This is episode number 52, and I'm in a different setting today because it is extremely hot outside here in Southern California. And I usually record this podcast out in my she shed, in my Resilient Woman studios, but it's just too hot out there. And the dogs like to be with me when I'm recording, and it's just too hot for them. And it's too hot for me, despite my attempts to use fans. So I have carved out a corner of my little kitchen area here to record this episode because you have really been on my mind this week. And as I was walking yesterday, I was thinking about people pleasing and apologizing. And I really do feel that we as resilient women do a lot of apologizing. And so I want you to really think about your apologizing really could be a form of people pleasing. So I'm going to rephrase it into the question: is your apologizing really a form of people pleasing? And the reason I wanted to share this is because for a long time, I found myself apologizing. And in full transparency, I used apologizing as a way of conflict management. I would say I was sorry, just trying to get over the situation and move on. And probably hidden in that was also this feeling that if things weren't working out, it was my fault or it was my responsibility to fix it because God has created me with this resiliency that I know I've had. And I really have found over time that constantly apologizing really is a form of people pleasing. So I want you to think about the fact of the words people pleasing. Now, think for a moment when you hear the words people pleasing, how does that affect you? Do you turn up your nose? Do you feel offended? Do you feel that couldn't be you because a people pleaser is a suck up? Is we say they kiss you know what to try to get their promotion or get along, or a people pleaser is someone who's not strong or um, doesn't stand up for what they believe. I want you to really take a look in the mirror, and I want you to really ask yourself, do you find yourself apologizing a lot? Do you find yourself, if something doesn't happen, your boss says, comes back with some feedback, well, this isn't working, is what not what I expected. People you supervise come to you and um, they give feedback that's not complimentary, or your kids are going through things, your significant other, your spouse is going through things, other friends or family, things aren't working, you find yourself saying, "I'm so sorry, I will take care of it." Or, um, "I'm so sorry that I didn't fix this." And I really want you to stop, sis. I want you to look at those situations that you say, "I'm sorry," and ask yourself the question, are you really responsible for what's going on or the outcome? Or are you being allowed to be used by either other people or you yourself as the scapegoat? And because you have such a big heart, you are wired to care, to fix, to fill in the gap, to burden bear, to push everyone forward and keep going like the ever ready bunny. I want you to stop and ask yourself, are you allowing yourself to be the fall guy or the scapegoat for really something someone else has done? Or it's a system problem? Because underneath it all, it's very possible that your apologizing, your willingness to shoulder all the responsibility, your willingness to shoulder the blame or shoulder the guilt or try to make everything better is really a search for validation. Really looking to find worth by filling that gap and shouldering the responsibility because you want to feel good, you want to feel enough by fixing things. So when things don't work out, you feel bad. You feel that it's all your fault. And that's really people pleasing. And people pleasing is, in my opinion, attempt to get validation or a sense of value or worth through an outcome, through be it a promotion or a compliment or someone, again, a compliment is like stroking one's ego or making you feel enough. It's all related. But if you're doing that, that feeling of worth and value only lasts a short time. It's transient. And you get that high maybe a split second before you're then running to try to find something else to fix to get that high feeling again. Versus realizing that before you say you're sorry about something, it's one thing to say, "Hey, I'm sorry you're going through that. I'm sorry that you feel that way. I'm sorry that you're having that experience or that's your perception." That's different from saying, "Oh, it's my fault. I'll fix it. I'm sorry I didn't do it. I'm sorry I didn't make you feel better." There's a difference in that. And you have to stop shouldering all of the responsibility of other people. Because what we do in our apologizing and in our people pleasing is we hurt ourselves because we start feeling or start believing real deep. I'm going to be honest with you, that we're in control of everything and we're in control of everybody. And if we're further not careful, even without fully realizing, you start believing you're God, that you are the GPS system for everything and everybody. And as you will hear me say over and over, at the core of my coaching is is my own transformation and how I had to go from realizing I was trying to be the GPS of my life instead of getting back to allowing God to be the GPS of my life. And that I was putting all of my value, all of my validation, my sense of worth, my sense of enoughness in other people. So when there was a conflict or I felt that they didn't understand where I was coming from or they misunderstood my intention, that it was truly my fault. So then I would try to do things or say things to try to connect with them so that I could get them to let me know that I had fixed their problem or that I was of value to them or to that I met their need. And the reality is everyone has a responsibility of taking or being accountable for how they show up in life. And it just came to my mind. I think about this especially as being a parent or if you're caring for someone, because as you know, I'm a family caregiver as well. And so, very similarly, we can take on the responsibility for our kids, decisions they make, even into adulthood, decisions that they make, actions that they take. Uh, as a caregiver, we take responsibility on the outcome of their checkups. If they're eating the way they're supposed to eat, if they're taking their medications. And unless someone is doesn't have the capacity or has the thought process to be able to manage their care, they do have the ability to take responsibility for how they take care of themselves. And there's a certain point with our children, and it's not when they're just adults. There's a certain point that even in high school, if not a little bit earlier, that we do have to let them take responsibility for their decisions. Because otherwise, they don't learn. We can't coach them through their growth process because we're so busy trying to fix it, because we take it personal if they make a decision that we know that's not the best decision to make. But because again, our blessing of being created with big hearts, with having a sense of right and wrong, of being resilient, that we can keep going, the lines get blurred. And then we feel like we have to take on everything. And so, sis, today, I see you. I see you. And I know you are out there and you are carrying around the weight of the world. You're carrying around the weight of the world. And you're apologizing to everything about everything and to everybody because that's just become your mode of operation. And in some situation, it has helped to smooth things over because people are looking for a fall guy or a fall woman. They're looking for a scapegoat so they can go on with their life and feel that they're okay. Or they're okay with you taking on the responsibility, and then you figure, okay, well, I'll take on the responsibility, I'll fix it, and but for now I'm going to take on the responsibility so we can stop talking about it and we can move on. But that doesn't serve anybody in the right way. And last week I talked about how everybody's fire is not our fire. It all ties in together. And so I want you to really this week think about, I want you just to stop and listen to yourself when you're talking. And I want you to stop and think about when you hear yourself say, I'm sorry. I want you to look at the situations in which you are saying, I'm sorry. Now, if it's warranted, you made a mistake and you're apologizing, fine. But I see you because I'm you. I have to coach myself too. But I want you to stop and I want you to listen to yourself. And I want you to look at the situations on which you say, I'm sorry. And really think about, why am I saying I'm sorry? Why am I taking on the burden of someone else's actions or decisions? And maybe I just need to stay in my lane and let things play out. So I want you to stop and think about that. And I wanted to also share with you another experience, that why this was on my mind this week is I was, every morning I listen to my own inspirational material. If I'm not just listening to nature when I'm out walking in the morning, I am listening to inspirational speakers, motivational speakers, or thought leaders, because really I find out most of us have the similar experiences and thoughts. And I want positive because I might have enough drama going in my ears throughout the day. So I want some positive. And it also helps, hearing the thoughts of others also helps to kind of me articulate my own thoughts. But back to this walk. So as I was walking, I thought about the fact that I think it was probably last week, in last week's episode. I was sitting here recording and I was apologizing to you all as in a way, right? When I was talking about the sense of urgency to live your life to the fullest with intention. And I was like, well, I'm not trying to be morbid. You know what? I'm going to stop apologizing about that because that is what God put on my heart. And I realized that my experiences as a hospice and palliative care physician, through those experiences, I have had the honor of caring for patients and families at one of the hardest times in life. And that is where I have gained this appreciation of life, along with also caring for my own parents and caring for a family member now and experiencing loss of friends and colleagues. God has put that on my heart. So I'm going to stop apologizing for that because it is what it is. Life is fragile. Life is short. Tomorrow's not given. And we need to live our life to the fullest every day. And that doesn't necessarily mean material things, but it's finding joy. And that's why I'm so passionate about this podcast. I'm passionate about being a life coach and being here for you to share my experiences and my insights and my own transformation because I don't want you to keep putting it off. I don't want you to keep putting off your best life or finding joy and articulating your experience and dreaming big despite wearing all the hats, because even in that, you can find joy. When we stay connected to the ultimate GPS, which is God, through Jesus Christ, and stop trying to use ourselves and other people as the GPS. So I'm excited. So just know you're not alone as I'm telling you to stop apologizing for everything and everybody. Stop people pleasing. God has your back. And understand that just people pleasing to try to get the validation versus you want to do something nice for someone because you want to do something nice with no expectation of something in return. That's not the same as people pleasing. People pleasing is there is an outcome you're hoping to get, is to fit in, to win the popularity contest, to win the promotion, to um, feel enough, as I said before. So this week, I want you to look at these things. So, what's your two take home messages for today? This week, I want you to be totally present and listen to yourself when you're talking. And if you hear yourself saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I apologize, I want you to stop and look at those situations and look at when you're saying it and why you're saying it. And secondly, if you find yourself compelled or pushed to people please, I want you to stop and then ask yourself, what is underneath that? What am I hoping to get by pleasing or trying to fix everything for everyone? Because once you do this work, it's a major step to just opening up and resetting and transforming how you show up in life. And it's one of those critical keys to unlocking joy in the midst of your resilience. Because I want you to have joy fueled resilience and live life with intention and not in reaction. I love you. And I am so excited about this journey that we are in the middle of. And I look forward to seeing you next week at the Resilient Woman podcast. I love you. See you next week. Be blessed. See you soon. Bye now.